I love that we have a full house today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Jerry and Tim, and thank you to our panelists and everyone else in the room for being here. Kurt and I are very excited to have this panel discussion as a special episode of our podcast, Enable the Disability Podcast, where we share stories of people with disabilities and different abilities, as well as resources and support.
Yeah, we're so glad you're here. October is Disability Employment Awareness Month, and we're proud to be part of the Community at Work Job Fair, presented by CareerBridge IT Solutions, with support from Wegmans, CNY Works, Syracuse.com, the Post-Standard, and Advanced Local. And now let's introduce our panelists. Matthew DePrimo, owner and CEO of CareerBridge IT Solutions LLC. Chelsea Vitale, Disability Resource Coordinator with CNY Works Incorporated. And David Devendorf, Director of Employment for AccessCNY.
Thank you all for being here. Please kick us off by telling us about yourself and a little bit about what you do.
So I'm the owner of CareerBridge IT Solutions, and we are a staffing and recruiting agency based right here out of Syracuse, New York. I wanted to create an opportunity for people with disabilities, special abilities, as well as those from underrepresented groups who face issues in gaining employment here in the state of New York, but also across the country. So my primary focus is to assist all of you in this room and others from around the great CNY area here in accessing jobs that you may have otherwise thought you weren't able to access for some, imposter syndrome or other reasons, telling you why you don't think you could fit into that position. But I'm here to tell you that you have superpowers beyond what you give yourself recognition.
My name is Chelsea Vitale, and I'm the Disability Resource Coordinator at CNY Works, and I serve as a service navigator for job seekers with disabilities, making sure that they have all of the tools and support as well as resources they need to move toward employment. My goal is to improve the employment outcomes for individuals with disabilities. I have a background in human services and over a decade of experience serving individuals with disabilities, and I'm extremely passionate about building inclusive pathways to employment and helping people reach their goals.
And I'm Dave Devendorf. I'm now working on my second decade in the field. I work for AccessCNY. I'm the Director of Employment Services. The big thing is we have such a passion for helping people, whether it's a mental health diagnosis, developmental disabilities diagnosis, intellectual disabilities, helping people realize their dream of working, helping them find the jobs that are the right fit for them, helping them connect with employers, helping them connect with the community, understanding that there's a lot of jobs out there for them, and just helping make that match. And that's what we focus on.
Thank you. Geoff and I really like the term superpowers. And as Matthew said, remember that. You bring something to the table, and whatever that might be. But Matthew, what I'd like to know more about is, what is implicit bias, and how does that present a challenge for job seekers?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question. So implicit bias is when you're showing up for that job interview, right? Or when HR, whomever receives that resume of yours, right? Implicit bias is something that is embedded in all of us, right? Implicit bias comes from the way that we were raised. It comes from the communities that we have been involved in throughout our entire lives, right? So a lot of people don't understand or don't know that we naturally come to the table with implicit bias built inside of us. Whether it's a thought or an idea of how you believe or perceive the world to work, or the people within the world to operate or think, that's the implicit bias, right? So someone who sees me as a combat veteran from the United States Army, they initially will hear, oh, he has PTSD, and that's a negative thing because we're worried that he's going to be a liability at our organization. That's an implicit bias. The reality is, because of the hardships that I've been through and my other brothers and sisters in arms have been through, that's our superpower. When the pressure comes on in the workplace, in corporate America, wherever you're at, right, we're the people who are used to pressure beyond what you can see at the C-suite, right? We come from a place where we are truly meeting, tip of the spear, right? We're truly meeting conflict right where it begins. So the superpower that veterans have, especially combat veterans have, is, we don't find fear in the things where most people would. We stare fear in the eye, and we meet conflict and challenges head on. So PTSD, combat veterans, these implicit biases that come along with that badge that I wear, right? How I overcome them is very, very important, very crucial. So as you face implicit bias in your everyday, right, I challenge you to find your superpower and put that at the forefront.
Thank you, Matthew. So many of us in the room might have disabilities or different abilities. Myself, I am hard of hearing. I was born with a profound hearing loss. And so I want to ask Chelsea, when it comes to people that have a disability, what do job candidates need to know about disclosing any special needs that they might have?
So when it comes to disclosing a disability during your job search or employment process, the most important thing for a candidate to know is that disclosure is a personal choice. It's not a requirement. You can choose to disclose your disability at any time during the hiring process or when you are employed. There's also, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which protects individuals from discrimination and ensures access to reasonable accommodations. If a candidate needs an accommodation to participate in the hiring process or to perform essential job functions, then at that point disclosure is necessary, at least to the extent to request that accommodation. But even then, they don't need to share a specific diagnosis or medical history. They just need to explain how their disability affects their ability to do the job and what supports they need. Also, employers are required to consider a reasonable accommodation for individuals with disabilities as long as the disability is disclosed. It's also important for candidates to know that there are several resources available to help them navigate this process. Like myself, as the Disability Resource Coordinator, I can support individuals with disabilities with the disclosure process and advocate for you to employers and throughout the hiring process. So ultimately, the goal is to empower job seekers to make informed decisions that support both their privacy and their success in the workplace.
Thank you, Chelsea. And David, we're all here today because we want to find jobs, right? We want to be in the game. And so could you help us with maybe some job interview questions we should be prepared to answer?
Absolutely. There's a few of them they're going to ask you a lot of questions. There's a few of them that are the most important. The first one that they're always going to start with is tell me about yourself. That's a really good one. Be prepared for that. Think of a story or something about why you would be a good fit for them. Okay, they're going to ask you the strengths and weaknesses, but the big thing that we're seeing a lot of now is employers are asking situational questions. A lot of employers are asking, tell me a time when you went over and above for a client or for an employer. Think of those stories. For people with disabilities, for people who are just getting their first job, that's one of the toughest questions. My advice is that it doesn't always have to be employment related. We all run into people in our lives. We all work with different people in our lives. Think of a time when you helped a friend out. Think of a time when you helped a loved one out, when you went above and beyond. Those are the questions that they're going to love. They're going to ask you some questions. They may ask you, put a situation in place, say, let me know a time when you dealt with an irate customer or something like that. What they're looking for, they're not looking for perfection. They just want to know what your mindset is with those questions. They want to know how you want to approach that. Because when they're interviewing you, what they're really doing is they want to see how are you going to fit in with the environment that they have there, with the mentality that they want to express. So if you're prepared for that, it's going to make you a lot more comfortable. The other question that they love to ask at the end is they'll always ask you, do you have any questions for us? Always come prepared for that question. Whether you get a chance to get on the computer and look up a little bit at something on the employer itself or their background or something along those lines, have a question or two prepared. It shows the employer that this isn't just some random job for you. This is the place you want to work. It makes the employer feel special, which gives them a better feeling for you, but it also says that you took the time to research things and care about where you're going to be working.
Thank you.
Now, one thing that has changed also in recent years is, well, especially recent months, is artificial intelligence. So, Matthew, I wanted to ask you about how AI has changed how companies screen resumes. What tips do you recommend for job seekers to get noticed by hirers?
Yeah. So what I tell everybody that I speak to about jobs that you are applying for is that just like every person is different, every job is different, every resume, every cover letter should also be different. And because we're facing AI in this world today, it's making our lives incredibly easy in most cases, but we're finding in the employment sector that it's making some people's lives a little more difficult. And so the algorithms that are being created and utilized by AI are looking for keywords, right? So when you pull up that job description and you're finding out what is it that they are looking for in a candidate, right? As long as you fit that bill, as long as you hold those specific skills or experiences, you need to highlight them in that resume. Because when the AI runs its algorithm, when the AI screens all of those resumes, right? Because we go from, maybe 10, 20 resumes for a job to now we're receiving 100 to 200 resumes, right? They're utilizing AI to scan through those resumes a lot faster to weed out and find, who are going to be the best candidates, who's checking the most boxes. So as you tailor your resume for a specific job, ensuring that those keywords are highlighted in your skills section is going to help you reach whatever algorithm that this AI is utilizing to get your resume to make it to the next round. So, looking at the employer side, right, they're able to screen resumes faster. They're able to cut costs. They're able to find ways to assist the top and bottom line of their organizations by utilizing AI, which is fantastic. As a leader in an organization, right, when I hear that you've been able to save hours or X amount of dollars on screening and vetting all of the candidates, I'm excited. I'm happy about that. But looking at how exactly that's being done, utilizing AI and having those biases that are built into AI from who the creators were of that specific system. So really, the big thing I can say, the big takeaway when you're faced up against AI in who is screening and utilizing it with vetting their candidates, you want to make sure that your skills that you have, truly have, don't make it up, but the skills that you have match the skills that they're looking for on that specific resume. in an event like today, where you're going to speak with multiple employers who may be looking for a plethora of different jobs, different positions, right? You want to have a nice solid resume that kind of covers all the bases, covers your main skills and the different experiences that you had, almost as a blanket to cover over, who you are as a person and what it is that you bring to the table. But when you're applying online, really keep in mind those key words. That's going to be the saving grace for people as we move into this age of AI.
Very good, thank you. So Chelsea, we took the initiative to come here today. We're looking to find jobs, we're looking to contribute, but at the same time, some of us might have concerns about losing SSI and or SSDI benefits with a job. What do employers and candidates need to know?
I'll start by saying that this is a very real concern for many job seekers who receive SSI or SSDI, and it's important to both the job seeker and the employer. It's important that the employer understands that working doesn't automatically mean losing benefits. In fact, there are built-in protections and work incentives designed to support a gradual transition to employment. For example, under the Social Security Administration, there is the Ticket to Work program, which is where individuals can explore working without immediately losing their benefits. There are trial work periods, extended eligibility periods, and income exclusions that allow people to continue receiving their benefits while they're trying out work. So both SSI and SSDI have different rules, so it's very important to get personalized guidance. Each individual's case is very different. That's where benefits counselors or community work incentive coordinators come in, and they can help individuals understand how your earnings will affect their specific situation and also how to report your income properly. It's important to know also that employers don't need to know the specific details of someone's benefits, but the employer should be aware that fear of losing health care or income can be a real barrier to employment. So the employer should create a supportive and informed environment, and it's important to connect candidates to resources like myself, the Disability Resource Coordinator, or benefits planners, and we can help you along the way, and this will make a huge difference.
Now, we're getting close to actually starting the job fair portion of the Community at Work job fair. So one of the questions that I want to ask Dave is, what do you recommend for all these wonderful people to do at a job fair like this?
It's a great question. And thankfully, Matthew kind of led into that, is a lot of employers right now, they're getting 100, 200 applications for all the jobs. So it's harder and harder to stand out. So job fairs have become more and more important, because what the job fairs allow you to do is it gets you that one-on-one time with the employer, that face time with the employer, where you become more than just your resume, more than just your qualifications, you become a person. So one of the things that I always try to tell people, especially when it comes to job fairs, is to be intentional. Any job fair, they always list who's going to be there, what employers are going to be there. Look up those employers, kind of pick out 5 or 6 that you want to talk to. Understand what roles they have or don't have. Look at what they are wanting to hire. And search those out first. One of the biggest mistakes people do is they feel like they've got to talk to every employer. And the quality of what they're saying then decreases, because you kind of get into that same mode where you're just repeating the same things over and over. So pick a few. Look at the ones that you really want to work for. And then when you're talking to them, try and understand basically the feel, the vibe of that company. Because where you work The job that you do, 90% of what you do is the people that are going to be around you. That's what's really going to determine whether or not you enjoy a job or not. So there are a lot of jobs out there where what they're looking for and what you're looking for, even if the title is the same, are very different. So find a couple of employers that really interest you, look up the jobs, look up what that employer does, and search those out. And then afterwards, after you've talked to them, then you go to other ones that maybe have something that you're interested in. But be intentional with what you're doing. Look for those, get the face time there, because that's what's going to set you apart from the other 199 people that have applied for that same job. It's going to get you so much farther if you can just get in front of the people that are making those decisions.
That's really good advice, David. Thank you. And Matthew, how do we make it an easy yes for employers to hire diverse candidates?
I think two-part answer, right? So first part, from your perspective as a job seeker, going to events, applying for jobs, right? I said in the beginning, we've kind of been dancing around this ideology of you holding a superpower, right? At the last career fair that I went to as an employer recruiting, everybody who came up to the table, the very first question I gave them, and some of them, it took them a second, it made them step back, but I asked them, what's your superpower? And they didn't know what I was talking about. Some of them just jumped right into it and said, oh, I'm into data, or I'm into AI, or whatever specific niche category that they were into, that they were looking for work in. They just jumped right into it, right, without skipping a beat, and started telling me about, their experiences and how they've, received different certifications or degrees or however. And knowing who you are, right, you're the only person who could tell your story as well as you can. No one else can tell that story as well as you can. Your experiences, the things you've been through, the job experiences that you've had, right? So when you get in front of those employers and you want it to be an easy yes, right, put your best foot forward and give them the best version of you, right, with those nice stories, with that ability to communicate with them. But you want them to realize, right, just the same way as they want you to realize that we're all human, right? We've all been through something in our lives, right, that makes us special. That thing is what you need to bring to the table. That superpower is how you get to an easier yes. But as the second part of that, through CareerBridge, how we get to an easy yes, right? We've went out and sought, how do we have employers, how do we incentivize employers to want to say yes to these incredible candidates that they otherwise may have overlooked in the past, right? And so we've found $1.2 million in tax credits and grants from utilizing incredible professionals like yourselves and other underrepresented group members that we assist. So by bringing you to the table, our clients, these employers, they've just unlocked $1.2 million in tax credits and grants. So there's a return on their investment to utilizing these services, to want to hire people who have superpowers like all of us do. So, finding that way to put yourself in front of the crowd, right? To fly up over that crowd, so to speak, with the superpower analogy, is putting that best foot forward, finding the way to get that yes as easy as possible. So thank you again.
We do have a couple minutes. If anyone in the audience would like to ask a question, I would invite you to raise your hand. We can take one or two questions. And I do also want to let you know that you can have opportunity to ask any of our panelists questions after the panel discussion as well. But we'll start with you over there. Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
My question is, what should you do, if you, let's say you get hired for the job and, the people aren't that very nice to you, what should you do?
That is a really great question. So so that everyone can hear what the question was, she asked, may I ask your name? Mia.
What's Philippo's
Mia asked if you get hired and you're working at your place of employment and there are people in the workplace that are not being very nice to you, right? So that is something that you would take to either some individuals in the room have a job coach or a support service, right, that help them to gain their employment. I would take it to your job coach. There are also the Americans with Disabilities Act, which will protect you in the workplace. So if that is happening to anybody, please feel free to, and reach out to your human resources department, but you have to report it. That's the only way that it's going to be taken care of.
And don't be afraid to talk to your supervisor as well about it.
Yep.
Because a lot of times employers don't want anyone to feel like someone's being mean to them. If a supervisor knows about it, they can step in right away. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on you.
In the past, and when I did my jobs, and I really didn't like it. That's why I was
It's a good question.
Yes, go right ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much.
Hello.
I have two questions. The first one is, what if you were wanting to delve off into entrepreneurship? And also, what are the options for maybe like a work at home versus being social? Not, work at home and entrepreneur, those two.
Matthew,
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So in terms of work from home positions, I think after we dealt with, COVID, we saw a lot of remote positions open up. A lot of employers started to realize that they can cut costs and they can provide better workplace opportunities for their employees by having remote positions. So keep your eye out for any remote positions that are available. Even some hybrid positions that are available. There's great opportunities there where, maybe you get an opportunity to come in once, twice a week into the office, feel like a contributing member of that organization, but then have the ability to then step out of the office and do your work in the comfort of your own home. And then in terms of entrepreneurship, if you're looking for entrepreneurship advice or just kind of how to walk down that path, you can feel free to stop by and talk to me outside of this panel discussion at any point in time. I'm happy to discuss entrepreneurship with anybody. But there are a lot of resources that are available here in the community in Syracuse and for New York State, on a larger scale. And they have a lot of grants, and there's a lot of other things that you can apply for that can help you either financially, or if you're looking for maybe mentorship on how to go along that walk, there are free options out there to gain mentorship to help you with that as well. So if you're looking for entrepreneurial endeavors, or you're just kind of poking around to see if that's something you're interested in, feel free to stop by and we can chat after this.
Thank you. We really appreciate everybody coming out today. Thank you to our panelists, and thank you for being a part of Enable the Disability Podcast, available on YouTube and all major audio podcast platforms. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. Please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. My name is Geoff, DeafGeoff Herbert.
And my name is Kurt Hower. And thank you for coming out today to our first Community at Work job fair. Now, just a reminder, you're getting ready to go in that room next door and talk to employers. You have something to offer. So have fun and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.